and I'm going to start almost exclusively with the pros, and I'm going to send it your way about some things that I really am excited about this Cincinnati Bengals team. And the first one is, I think this offensive line is by far the best in the Joe Burrow era. We talked about it when, they lose the Super Bowl and that entire playoff run, 10 sacks, 9 sacks, some of them Joe's fault, but a good portion is just because the line wasn't very good. And we said, if you keep Joe upright, he will cook. They're keeping Joe upright, and he is cooking. This offensive line is the best in the Joe Burrow era. Jacob, do you agree?
I don't think it's particularly close, and I'm more optimistic about this O-line than any line in the Joe Burrow era. And for them to already be the best is incredible. I mean, I think Amarius Mims is only going to get better, and I think that's kind of everyone's consensus point there. He's a rookie who started in 3 games. And if he gets better, and Orlando Brown is still playing at a level of one of the best tackles in the league, and the interior can figure it out a little bit more against top-level talent, but they've found a way to really do a good job against anyone but the elite on the inside. This O-line is great, and it's what's going to propel this offense on another step forward when this defense can figure it out. And then, as Joe has said multiple times, he's still getting completely comfortable getting up to 100% after his wrist surgery. So as he continues to throttle up and the offense continues to keep going, I think the offensive line is going to get more and more comfortable. They've been so good in pass pro, which with this offense and what we want to do, I mean, obviously running the ball is so important to be a balanced offense, but with how much we want to pass the ball, the offensive line being as good as they have been in pass blocking is so crucial, and absolutely is the best offensive line.
Yeah, it's funny, and we can rightfully criticize the front office and all these things about the way that they're using money, not signing guys like Jesse Bates, whoever you want to complain about when it comes to this team. But in essence, we asked them to figure out one thing 2 years ago. That's right. What we told. We want this to be your point of emphasis. It was their point of emphasis, and it looks like, at least to this point of the season, they've got it figured out. Orlando Brown is exactly the guy that we think he is. I said when we signed him that this is the biggest free agent signing in the city of Cincinnati since Ken Griffey Jr. I still hold that to be true. Because he's looking to absolutely be that guy. And Amarius Mims. Maybe I'll throw that in the where I was right, where I was wrong section of the show. But he looks pretty good out there. I mean, he's a rookie. He doesn't have many games under his belt. Let's cut him some slack there.
He's a project.
Injuries are still a major concern. They're a pretty big concern for me when I look at this line. But when the 5 that are supposed to be out there are out there, this line looks pretty good. All right, here's another pro. And I may be just beating the most obvious points home, but I think maybe that's okay to do. Tee Higgins and Jamar Chase are probably the best 1-2 punch in the league. Elliot, agree?
I don't think if you factor in the chemistry with Joseph Burrow, I don't think there's Joseph Lee. I don't think there's a better duo, wide receiving duo, and we'll just call them a trio, the 3 best friends that anybody could ask for. I don't think there's a better 3 quarterback and 2 wide receiver combo in the National Football League. I don't. And we could go down the line. I know Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are very, very good in Miami, but I'd argue having a college teammate paired with your quarterback and having Tee Higgins, who seemingly
Waddle and Tua were college teammates.
Huh?
Waddle and Tua were college teammates.
Take it back. My point being that the chemistry between these 3 are better than anybody else in the NFL. I stand by that take. And I think if you're able to retain – I know this isn't going to be a retain T segment, but if you're able to retain T, I still think going forward you have the best trio in the NFL by a wide margin. I don't think it's close.
It's interesting watching them this year, and when you finally see the offense do what we expect them to do, put up 30 points a game, and I know they didn't against the Giants, and I know they didn't against the Patriots, but have done against every other team. You get closer, and no one was maybe you just got to get rid of T because you can't do them both. You get closer to going, it looks pretty good when it's Jamar and T out there, because Jamar just takes so much attention away from T. And T may be better than anyone in the National Football League at just throwing the ball high and letting T get it.
Yep.
He's going to catch the ball. Just throw it at him and throw it high. He's going to I think Collinsworth kept calling him a basketball player the other night. And I remember my wife was watching this. She's like, "Why does she keep calling him a basketball player? He's playing football." And I was like, "You get it. You're on it, honey." But yeah, T just jumps up and gets it. Also, I've realized this about my Bengals fandom, and it's no secret that I stand or I support Joe Burrow and will defend him tooth and nail over all the detractors because I think he is truly one of the best in the league, and I think that people maybe have unfair expectations on what that looks like. I haven't given enough credit to Jamar Chase. I've told these guys off air a few times since the Ravens game that when Jamar Chase gets 2 steps, good luck. Truly good luck. How many times have we seen in Jamar Chase's career just a screen pass or just an 8-yard route and he gets 2 steps of open space? We've seen the screenshots where there's 7 defenders around him and he takes off because he's got 2 steps. I haven't given enough credit to Jamar Chase, and that's my fault. And that's my fault. I think actually the last time I hosted, I was like, is the contract negotiations set an end to Jamar? Are we not getting what we expect from Jamar? Man, he's unbelievable. He's truly unbelievable. I mean, say what you want. The most obvious thing the Cincinnati Bengals, and it's incredibly obvious, is you got to figure out a way to keep that guy around here for a long, long time. Speaking of a guy that is elite, Trey Hendrickson is still an elite pass rusher. And if he was on the Ravens, if he was on the Cowboys, if he was on really the Chiefs, any of these teams that are either huge brands or Super Bowl contenders, even like the Steelers, huge brand, one of the biggest brands in the sport. If Trey Hendrickson was on them, he'd get talked about way more. In fact, if you listen to national pundits talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, you know how they refer to Trey Hendrickson? They go, "Oh, they have that really good pass rusher." Yeah. That's how they don't name him. They don't do that for Micah Parsons. They don't do that for T.J. Watt or Myles Garrett. Or any of those guys are names. Our elite pass rusher is just, "Oh, yeah, the Bengals got that really good pass rusher. He's great." Trey Hendrickson is still elite. Yeah. Man, oh, man, can we find some help for him?
Yeah, no, that'd certainly be nice. Trey Hendrickson joined the Bengals in 2021. Since 2021, there's only 3 players with more sacks than Trey Hendrickson. That's T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, and Nick Bosa. He's on this list right ahead of Micah Parsons, Max Crosby, and Chris Jones. Trey Hendrickson is incredible. He's nothing short of a top 5 edge rusher in football. He's incredible at a marquee position that you absolutely need to have a difference maker at in order to be a championship contender. He does that. If you can get him anything like top 100 help on the other side, I would love to see what he can do, because the way he's able to produce when he's the only person on the Bengals defensive line that you have to key in on, at least for the 2 weeks before this Giants game when Sheldon Rankins and B.J. Hill were battling injuries and we had guys off the street playing defensive line for 45% of the snaps. It was a full-on focus on Trey Hendrickson, and he was still able to get wins. And then you go into New York and you play against an all-pro tackle in Andrew Thomas, and he gets 2 sacks. So I don't know what more you can ask for out of Trey Hendrickson. He's been unbelievable and continues to produce.
If you take away Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals defense, they are the worst defense in the NFL.
Well, they already might be.
They might be already. They might be. They definitely are if you take away Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who's getting to the quarterback?
Nobody. Zero people.
Nobody. Yeah, nobody. I mean, I'll do this later on, but man, whatever we got with Sheldon Rankins and Miles Murphy, Sam Hubbard. I said this about Sam Hubbard off air. God love him. He had one of the coolest plays in Cincinnati Bengals history. And I bash Sam Hubbard a lot. I really do. And I wish I didn't, because he's a Moeller guy. He's an Ohio State guy. He seems like an incredibly stand-up guy in the community. But what does it say about a player? And I'm talking about Sam Hubbard here. What does it say about a player that when he makes a routine play for his position, when he just makes a tackle or stops a run before they get a yard, and it's a good play, sure. Like, you're not gaining 4 yards, but just makes a tackle. You're like, oh, Sam, nice job. What does that say about a player? Like, if I watched a quarterback and he hit a 10-yard out route and threw it on a dot, and I'm like, oh, man, that was a really nice pass. That should be expected. When a guy's open, you should hit him in stride. And I don't know what we do about Sam Hubbard. I've had this take for a while that everyone wants to talk about the Bengals need more pass rush. We're getting closer to wanting to talk about where it comes from. Because I said that. Everyone says, hey, we need to get to the quarterback more. No one wants to say, how do we do it? And it's pretty clear how we do it, and it's Sam Hubbard has to take significantly less snaps. Miles Murphy has to play a lot more. Pro that I think Elliott is excited about, and you should be excited about it. for a couple years there, we didn't really have a punter. Ryan Rico's a dog.
Brad Robbins. The Brad Robbins era, unfortunately, has come to an end. And by the way, it absolutely does matter. Like, the punting situation, in my opinion, goes hand in hand with the Bengals defense situation. The Bengals defense coming into the year, if they were serviceable, you can survive. The Bengals offense scores 30 a game. The Bengals defense isn't good, but they're fine enough to win games. Punting, in my opinion, is sort of the same way. You don't have to have the best punter in the league, but if you have a middle of the road punter, you're going to be okay. You can get the. Brad Robbins was the worst ranked statistical punter last season. He was the worst. I say that with a lot of love and respect, but statistically, there was not a punter worse than Brad Robbins. That stuff matters a little bit. It mattered on the Sunday against the Ravens when Rico can pin the ball wherever he wants. 1, 2, whatever yard line he wants. 80 yards, 90 yards, he can kick it as far as he wants. He's the best punter in the NFL, one of the best punters in the NFL, and that has absolutely made a difference this season.
There's 32 teams. 28 punters don't
Yep.
matter. Don't matter.
Yep.
For 28 teams, your punter is just your punter, right? Don't mess up the game. There's 2 teams. We were in the 2 teams that it did matter last year, where you're just like, man, a 30-yard punt? A 30-yard punt from a guy we drafted? I still don't understand. I'm never going to be a scout. Never been a scout. Never going to be one. I don't understand how you miss on a punter. Just get in this room. Let me see you punt the ball. All right, it looks pretty good. You're on the team. Whatever happened with Brad Robbins, I can't believe it. But Ryan Rico is now put us in closer. I don't know if we're there to where you know what it is. He's certainly affected games in a very positive. So you know what? We're in the other percentage where it is affecting us. Like I said, for 26 to 28 teams, punting does not matter. I'll say 26 to be safe. There's 3 punters that do matter and 6 punters that are either terrible or good. For 26 of them, it's nothing. For what it's worth, you remember that clip when Brad Robbins got drafted? You remember that clip where the Bengals tweeted it out or put it on their TikTok or something like that of Zach Taylor calling Brad Robbins and Brad Robbins not believing it true?
Thought it was a prank call.
In hindsight, if the guy you're drafting thinks it's so outlandish that he's getting drafted, maybe not a good pick. Maybe not a good pick there, old Houdays. That was not a good look. And, 1 year in, 1 year out.
Yeah. He tried his best.
He did. That's the thing.
He tried his best.
He certainly did. All right, I've got a few more before we go to break. I got one more. How about this? Before we go to break, and it's something that I wanted to happen last year, but it was hard to do because of the personnel that was on the team. Is Chase Brown looks explosive as heck.
Yeah.
He looks explosive. I know as a speed back, you typically don't anticipate a guy being able to, take 25, 30 carries a game. But you got to remember, that's what he did in college at Illinois. I mean, they handed the ball off to him 30 times every single game. And though he's speed, it's something so refreshing. Does he power through and get the extra yard at the line of scrimmage when it's stuffed and, he falls forward? No, not really. Not really. But every once in a while, he just looks like he was shot out of a cannon and gets 12. And I'll take that. Chase Brown is a delight to watch on that offensive line. And I know people still bring up Joe Mixon, and he's doing fantastic things for Joe Mixon. I don't believe that Joe Mixon really worked for what we try to do here in Cincinnati. But, man, Chase Brown looks to fit that bill immensely.